Thank you, Pastor John. Wanted to ask you, this is a pretty big subject in the church today. The idea of pastors and lay leaders even using perhaps more coarse language from the pulpit, kind of bringing things down a level and not being holy in their speech. And it seems to be a bit of a problem, and somebody may call us nitpickers for wanting the speech coming from the pulpit to actually be glorifying in every way. And I just wanted to get your opinions on that. There's a lot of stuff on the internet bantering back and forth, and I just wanted to hear your opinion on it. Thank you.
Well, I'm right in the thick of it. And the two people, of course, are John MacArthur and Mark Driscoll, right? I assume that's where you're going. And everybody knows that I've been friendly with Mark Driscoll because he's been at two of our conferences, and I'll be with him in 2 weeks. And I love John MacArthur with all my heart, and I'm going to be with him, if he'll still have me, in June. So love him. Oh, what a grand, great 40 years. So amen. So he spent 4 blog posts criticizing Mark Driscoll 2 weeks ago, and Mark has stuck his foot in his mouth quite a few times. I would encourage nobody to become coarse, filthy, ugly, trashy. So I don't think your mouth needs to be dirty in order to relate to 20-somethings in Seattle. And I think Mark knows that. I assume he'll hear this, probably what I'm saying right now. I count him as a good friend. I spent an hour with him 2 weeks ago at the Gospel Coalition talking about these things. The difference between me and MacArthur at this point is I'm not drawing the line that John has drawn from the imperfections of Mark's ministry to his unfitness for ministry. Because that's where it seems John has gone. He says, it's over. Mark should resign. Nobody should go to his church. He's unqualified for ministry. And I'm not going there. Not at this point, anyway. I'm going to Mark directly. I'm getting in his face. I'm talking about, I got more issues than just language that I'm talking about in his face, pleading with him. Look, guy, you got an influence that's absolutely incredible. He knows that. It's part of the problem. And I want you to be a good steward of this. I'm old enough to be your dad. I am. I have a son older than Mark Driscoll. Wait a minute. Mark Driscoll's 38 now, I think, so my son's 1 year younger. So I'm old enough to be his dad, and so he knows that. I'm in his face, and I'm saying, look, come on. You just clean this up. With regard, just let's get real specific for a minute. So you ask how I'm dealing with this. When I was sent by John MacArthur, the fated Song of Solomon, Edinburgh sermon that John critiqued 2 weeks ago online, I listened to it and thought it was horrible. All right? I got on my internet and wrote a 3-page, single-page letter to Mark Driscoll. This is horrible. And here are my 8 exegetical reasons and then a few pastoral reasons. Within 1 hour, that was off the Resurgence website. And an email had gone to Edinburgh and Glasgow to pull it down. That's significant. That was a son-like response to this fatherly, come on, that's over the top. That's not the way to do it. Now, he preached on Song of Solomon 2 years later. That was in 2007. Just a year later. I think what he did with his church was way more mellow and way more acceptable, which simply says to me, Mark is growing, and he's walking a very fine line because he is rock solid doctrinally. And he is accomplishing things in Seattle nobody else is accomplishing in winning to Jesus Christ. They had 400 baptisms on Easter Sunday morning this year. And these people would, just weird people, coming to his church. People that, I mean, look at me. Look at this. This is so weird. They wouldn't come hear me for anything. They wouldn't go to my church, but they'll go to his church. So I'm cutting him a lot of slack because of the mission. So it's kind of a both and for me. You don't need to go as far as you've gone sometimes with your language, but I understand what you're doing missiologically there, and I have a lot of sympathy for it because I'd like to see those people saved and yet I don't want to see either doctrine watered down, which he doesn't at all, or holiness watered down, which is John MacArthur's big concern, and I'm concerned with him.